Alex, I was out in the garage last night trying to organize my miscellaneous fasteners bin, which is basically just a plastic bucket where hope goes to die. And I realized something. Being a maker in 2026 is starting to feel less like a scavenger hunt and more like walking into a high end appliance store.
Is this about the 3D printing news? Because I saw you eyeing those bamboo lab specs. You look like a kid staring through the window of a candy shop, Tiger.
It's true. My first printer back in the day looked like it was held together with nothing but prayers and zip ties. If you wanted a spare part, you had to wait 3 weeks for a package from overseas that looked like it had been run over by a tractor. But the word on the street is that Bamboo is opening actual physical retail stores here in the States. You'll be able to walk in, touch the machines, and, heaven forbid, talk to a human being.
See, that's the part that scares me for you. You're going to walk into a store, get hypnotized by a Core XY gantry moving at Mach 1, and walk out 3 grand poorer. How do we actually navigate this without emptying the mortgage fund?
Well, the landscape is leveled out. If you're just dipping your toes in, maybe you're getting a kid their first machine, you can stay under $200 and get something that doesn't feel like a toy. But that $500 sweet spot, that's the lightning zone. You're getting speed that would make a cheetah nervous, and it works right out of the box. No more spending 4 hours leveling a bed like you're trying to balance a marble on a needle.
I remember watching you spend an entire Saturday calibrating yours, only for it to spaghettification a 12-hour print in the final 10 minutes.
Man, that hurt. That was a dark day. It looked like a plastic bird had a nervous breakdown in my workshop. But look, before we move on, I got to give a tip of the cap to Matthew Mensley and the All 3DP crew. They teamed up with Bamboo for a charity fundraiser for the Venezuela earthquake relief. It's a good reminder that these little plastic widgets we make can actually turn into real-world help when the community pulls together.
Speaking of real-world stuff, the new AWS Welding Journal dropped, and I noticed you highlighted Pittsburgh as the place to be if you want to be the person who knows their stuff.
Steel City is reclaiming the crown, Alex. They're becoming the hub for the CWI, that's Certified Welding Inspector, and the engineering tracks. It's funny, people think welding is just point the flame at the gap, but it's really more like being a baker where the bread has to hold up a 40-story skyscraper.
I saw the note about material science. Do people really get paid the big bucks just to decide which stick to use on which plate?
Oh, more than you'd think. Matching your filler metal to your base material is where the magic and the money lives. If you use the wrong rod on a commercial construction job, you aren't just making a mistake. You're creating a giant, expensive liability. It's about the molecular handshake between two pieces of metal. If they don't like each other, that bridge isn't staying up. And hey, if any of our pro listeners are CWIs, 2026 is a massive recertification year. Don't let your paperwork rot on the dashboard of your truck. If those credentials lapse, you're back to square one. And that's a mountain nobody wants to climb twice.
Spoken like a man who has definitely let paperwork rot on a dashboard.
It was under a pile of fast food napkins, Alex. Let's not revisit the great audit of 2019.
Okay, let's pivot from the heavy metal to something surprisingly quiet. You were reading about Catherine Nicolai. She basically built a kingdom out of boring stories?
It's brilliant. She does this Nothing Much Happens podcast, bedtime stories for grown-ups. We're talking over 100 million downloads. She took the bits of life that we usually try to edit out, the quiet, the mundane, the boring, and she built a media empire around it. 13,000 paying members.
It's a bit of a slap in the face to all the people trying to be loud on the internet, isn't it?
Exactly. The lesson for us makers is that we don't always have to sell a finished table or a welded gate. Sometimes the value is in the process. There's something deeply meditative about the sound of a hand plane curling off a piece of cherry or the steady hum of a lathe. People pay for peace. If you've got a boring part of your craft that helps people turn their brains off after a long day, you might be sitting on a gold mine and not even know it.
So you're saying I should just record 10 hours of you looking for your 10 millimeter socket?
Well, it would be a very active listening experience, a lot of colorful language and the sound of me kicking a rolling stool. Probably not the Zen Catherine is going for.
Let's get into the dirt. Weekend projects. You mentioned a karaoke bar makeover, which sounds like a recipe for some very loud neon mistakes.
It could have been, but man, the way they handled the acoustics and the lighting, it's a masterclass. Most people just slap some foam on the wall and call it a day, but this was about atmosphere. It's the same thing with the teak door frames I saw a local maker doing. 12 by 3 teak.
Teak is not friendly, right? That stuff is basically wood-flavored rocks.
It's got so much silica in it, it'll dull a blade just by looking at it. It's like trying to plane a sidewalk. But the reward, that wood will outlive your grandkids. It's naturally oily, it laughs at rain, and when you get that finish right, it's like looking into a sunset.
You're getting poetic on me, Tiger. Please tell me you're also making something for people who don't have an industrial shop and 10 gallons of teak oil.
Honestly, the project that caught my heart this morning was just a simple, hand-stitched baby quilt and a wooden rattle. Look, we build high-tech printers and we weld skyscrapers, but the things that actually stick around, the family heirlooms, are usually the ones that fit in a cradle. There's no feeling quite like handing someone a gift and knowing it's going to be the thing their kid carries around until the stuffing falls out.
That's the why behind the how, isn't it?
Every single time. Whether you're learning to inspect a weld in Pittsburgh or you're choosing your first 3D printer, just remember, we're not just making stuff. We're making the world a little more interesting, one boring story or one teak joint at a time.
Well, before you go and get all sentimental, I'm pretty sure I saw your miscellaneous bucket vibrating. I think the screws are planning an escape.
You're probably right. I'd better go put a lid on it before the 10mm sockets lead a full-scale rebellion.
Stay curious, guys.
And keep building. We'll see you tomorrow.